In the last 10 years, since September 11th, the United States has given our great ally Pakistan about $20 billion. $20 billion is a lot of money anywhere, but in Pakistan, $20 billion is gobs of money. Average income in Pakistan is about $1,000 a year. That money was not a birthday present. It wasn't an act of kindness on our part. We wanted something for that money. Among other things, we wanted Osama bin Laden. Within days of 9/11, Pakistan sent officials to Afghanistan to try to get the Taliban government there to hand bin Laden over. The Taliban refused, and of course bin Laden disappeared. For years it was believed by almost everyone that despite Pakistan's denials, bin Laden was hiding there as in Pakistan. Not only did that turn out to be correct, it turned out to be correct in an embarrassing way for Pakistan. Where bin Laden was found was very close to Pakistan's capital city, very close to a military academy, and he was living in a town surrounded by lots of retired military officials. He was not in a cave. He was not in some lawless frontier province. He was in the Pakistani equivalent of Nyack. And Pakistan assured us, to a Pakistan that had assured us that bin Laden was dead, or maybe they didn't know where he was, but he definitely wasn't in Pakistan, to Pakistan that had consistently assured us of that, it was embarrassing to find bin Laden where he was found. What do human beings do when they're embarrassed? They get defensive. Pakistan today turned their defensiveness up to 11. This was Pakistan's foreign secretary today when asked whether or not his country had actually been harboring bin Laden.
This is a false hypothesis. This is a false charge.
In the United States Senate, it is the Foreign Relations Committee that oversees foreign aid. Today, that committee met to discuss the whole billions in foreign aid to Pakistan thing and whether or not to continue to play the role of daddy warbucks, whether or not that is actually in our country's best interests.
We need to have better oversight and enforcement. Under those circumstances, we have to be prepared to cut off aid, or at least to suspend aid if, in fact, the conditionalities are not being met.
I have felt that we should alter and really focus this aid in a very different way. Okay, I really have. So I look at this as an opportunity. Okay, and we know that they are. For a long time, we've known they haven't worked with us in a very cooperative way.
And so, in Washington, facing that bipartisan criticism, Pakistan has launched a quiet public relations offensive. Reuters reporting from almost the moment we learned bin Laden was killed, Pakistan's lobbyists have been on Capitol Hill every day to, quote, promote Pakistan's position on the bin Laden killing, talking to congressmen, senators, and their aides. Pakistan pays just one firm almost $1 million a year. Coincidentally, that firm employs failed George W. Bush Supreme Court nominee Harriet Miers. According to her filing with the Justice Department, Ms. Miers lobbies for the Pakistani embassy and the political party to which the Pakistani president belongs. In the past couple of years, Pakistan and its political parties have also hired a firm called Cassidy and Associates, another one called BKSH and Associates, and until 2008, Pakistan even employed the lobbyist services of Rachel Maddow's show favorite, Burson Marsteller. You may remember Burson Marsteller from such lobbying gigs as Blackwater, 3 Mile Island, and the Bhopal chemical disaster. A couple of years before hiring Burson Marsteller, Pakistan hired the firm Barber, Griffith and Rogers. That's Barber as in Haley Barber, Republican governor of Mississippi, former head of the Republican Party, and one of the founders of that firm. Pakistan is a country desperate not to lose its $3 billion a year in U.S. aid. And after we found bin Laden there, Pakistan is willing to pay handsomely to a lot of very famous American political figures and firms to try to keep that money spigot open. Joining us now is Steve Clements of the New America Foundation. He is founder and publisher of The Washington Note. Steve, thanks very much for your time.
Great to be with you, Rachel.
How concerned is the government of Pakistan about losing funding? How right are they to be concerned?
Well, I think the Pakistani military thrives on the money and funding that we give them, the various aid and support and the toys for their military. And I think that we actually do help them bolster in big ways what they're most paranoid about, which is India. So I think they're very concerned that they essentially had a luxurious safe house going for Osama bin Laden. Not that they were concerned about that, but now they're afraid of paying the piper.
Well, what sort of overtures are their very expensive lobbyists and very connected lobbyists now making to try to defend their client, to try to prove that Pakistan is trustworthy enough to keep giving money to?
Well, I think they're out there saying, what General Kayani, we recently had other very high-level Pakistan cabinet ministers coming over, and they make the case that they're at war, too, that they're at war with the Pakistan Taliban, that they've lost. I saw a presentation once that outlined 3-star generals, 2-star generals, 1-star generals, their families, children, who were known to General Kayani and family friends who were killed in a battle. So they try to make the case, and I think they do, and part of it is the real story. You know, Pakistan, as you just had up there, is a very high-stakes frenemy of the United States. Part of what Pakistan's establishment is very wrapped up in the same mission of the United States. Another part of Pakistan is absolutely working as hard as it can against our interests. And both of these are true at the same time. They're trying, but their supporters are trying to say, the good stuff, not the bad stuff.
I think that nobody worries about Pakistan's assurances that they have a big problem on their hands and that the Pakistani Taliban is a big deal and definitely has the Pakistani government, the toppling of that government, in its sights and is a scary force. I think the concern is that Pakistan has never really purged the radical and radical sympathizer elements from its own intelligence and military ranks. When we have assassinations of Pakistani moderate politicians, it's by their own security guards, because the radicals have infiltrated, or even if not have infiltrated, are that part of the government. Can they show that they could do some sort of purge in that way?
I think it's really hard. It's like Salman Taseer, the governor of Punjab, who was killed by his guard. Admiral Mike Mullen has made the point many times that when the United States cut off security aid and exchanges with the Pakistani military, that there was a whole range of officers in the Pakistani military that just didn't develop contacts and relationships with the American military because of our worries about their human rights concerns and others. And that, when you heard from ISI the other day, or some people in the Pakistani government, that it may have been that the senior leadership of ISI didn't know anything about bin Laden, but the next tier did, that's remarkable, and it does validate somewhat what Mike Mullen has been saying is there's a core of people, in fact, the next generation, the successors to the current leadership, that don't like us very much, and they've been the ones that have been helping to build the LET and have been funding essentially our enemy in Afghanistan and giving safe houses to Osama bin Laden and Mullah al-Baradar, who's a deputy to Mullah Omar, and trying to essentially set themselves up as having strategic depth, having hooks that they can push into the United States and India if they need to, but they're essentially partly at war with us.
Steve Clemons, founder of the Washington Note, thank you so much for your time tonight, Steve. Really appreciate it.